Este año se cumple el 20 aniversario de la muerte de Isaiah Berlin y tenemos hoy a Henry Hardy, su editor, ¿no? Y albacea, que ha hecho posible, ¿no? Que muchos de los textos, ¿no? De este importante filósofo del siglo XX pues sean accesibles al público, y vamos a aprovechar para preguntarle algunas cuestiones, ¿no? Sobre la actualidad de Berlin. So my first question, Henry, thank you for being here, is what do you think is alive in the philosophy of Isaiah Berlin today?
Everything. Isaiah was interested in humanity, in the human condition, and that is always with us. And whichever period of history we live in, there is something going on which can be illuminated by his ideas. So I don't think that contemporary affairs are any different from any other period of history as far as his ideas go. If I had to choose one contemporary phenomenon which is particularly relevant to his ideas, or to which his ideas are particularly relevant, I would choose the extremist Islamic fundamentalist violence which we see taking place all over the world, which is in direct opposition to one of his key ideas, which is that there is not any single account of truth about human affairs which can be established as the one truth for everybody, which everybody must believe. There are many, many different ways of being human, and it is quite unrealistic and untruthful to insist that one way must be forced on everybody, either forced by argument or forced by violence. So Berlin's ideas speak directly to anyone who tries to impose their views on other people, and in today's world that means above all Islamic fundamentalism.
Okay. In Europe we are living under this threat of Islamic fundamentalism, but we are also seeing as a sort of backlash a growing nationalism against the European Union, this sort of strong statement of national sovereignty or something something important by many parties in Britain, also in the continent. What would Berlin say on all this?
Berlin believed that belonging to a community of people who understood you and whom you understood was a very important human need, just as important as the need for food or drink or shelter. And he believed that we naturally form ourselves into national or political units, states, if you like, nations. There are different names for it. But he believed that each of these groups ought to have a dominant cultural identity, so that there was a recognizable way in which it was normal to be Spanish or Portuguese or British or whatever it might be. And he believed that anybody who came to the country from elsewhere should adapt themselves to this cultural identity and should learn the language and should not insist on promoting their own original cultural identity at the expense of the host country. So he was against indiscriminate multiculturalism, and therefore he would be against indiscriminate immigration with no control over the assimilation of the people into the culture of the host country. So to that extent he would be worried about very generous policies of movement of peoples, such as the one that Angela Merkel has recently adopted.
Okay. Berlin was very close to America, and finally, what will you think will be his position or his assessment of this new American presidency of Donald Trump?
I think he would have been shocked, as I am, by Trump's apparent indifference to truth. Truth was a very important value to him, and to see Donald Trump arguing in some trivial cases, such as how many people were present at my inauguration. It doesn't matter, but if it does matter, it matters that you get it right and that you don't invent some alternative facts, as he says. The other aspect of Trump, which particularly would alienate him, I think, is the egomania, the personality cult of himself, which he appears to be promoting. One of the intellectual currents which he took a particular interest in was Romanticism, and one of the ideas of the Romantics was that the political leader should mould the people of his country, the people of his nation, as if he were an artist moulding clay. And this is a horrifying idea to Berlin, and there's something of that about the way Trump is behaving now, which I think would have worried him.
Okay, thank you very much, Henry.